into the box. He'll look to cut that back to the edge of the area to Declan Rice. And it's lashed goalwards. And off target, Declan Rice, head in his hands. He's unhappy he didn't get a clean connection on that one. That was a strong break from Newcastle on into the Spurs box. Joelinton heard the shout from his fellow Brazilian, pulled it back. And it wasn't far away from Declan Rice in the end. Just to cut across it with his right foot. Ricardo nowhere near that. And if it had just been an inch or two lower, we could be talking about a spectacular breakthrough for Newcastle. But as it stands, 9 minutes on the clock. Tottenham 0, Newcastle 0. Tottenham will get us back underway over in the right back position. Porro tried to find Richarlison with a quick throw, but he's blocked off by a tackle, and Newcastle will take a throw of their own now. Livramento, his first involvement of the afternoon. That's helped backwards towards club captain Jamal Lascelles. Another individual who's found himself back in the reckoning due to injuries. The 6th Premier League start of the season this afternoon. Alongside Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, both ever present for Eddie Howe. Tino Livramento potentially now first choice at left back. Lewis Hall struggled to make an impact since joining from Chelsea on loan, and Dan Burn, mentioned that word again, injured for Newcastle. Another player not expected back to the start of 2024. And here come Newcastle. It's Gordon who's raced in behind on the left hand side. We could have a chance here. Gordon on into the box, finds it across Isak, and he's missed it. Oh my word, what an opportunity for Alexander Isak. 7 Premier League goals this season. He thought he had the 8th in the back of the net, and I think that was a superb bit of recovery from Ben Davies. Newcastle quick as a flash down the left hand side. Anthony Gordon timed his run, stayed just inside his own half, on and on into the Spurs box. He feeds it across the 6-yard line to Isak, and it is Davies that gets back, and that is a brilliant piece of defending from the Wales international. Mentioned before, he's only in the team at centre-back because of a couple of injuries, and he's more than earned his corn there. Superb stuff from Ben Davies to stop a certain goal for Newcastle. So close for Alexander Isak there. Spurs will look to react to that in a positive way, get themselves moving forward in an attacking sense. Here's Bissouma, midway inside the Newcastle half. Back to Davies. Just squares that one across to Romero as Newcastle drop back in shape. All 11 Newcastle players back inside their own half. As Davies looks to lift that one forward down the right hand side for his Welsh teammate Brennan Johnson. And Porro backs him up on the edge of the 18-yard box. Johnson forced backwards by the pressure from Livramento. Finds Romero advanced there. Newcastle working hard to keep Spurs at bay so far. Really impressive counter-attack that from Newcastle just a moment ago. Anthony Gordon frustrated in midweek back at Everton. Got the sense that he was itching for a goal against his former side. Didn't manage it. Didn't manage an assist either, as Everton netted 3 and picked up 3 points. But he could not have done much more to put that on a plate for Alexander Isak. And in fairness to Isak, it was Ben Davies that stopped him. He'll be disappointed though, and hopefully get himself another chance as this game starts to intensify before the half-time break. Here come Tottenham again from defence. Davies feeds that one down the left-hand side to Son Heung-min, dropping in to help out. Richarlison's switched into a central role now with Son on the left-hand side. There's Kulusevski. He finds Udogie on the edge of the Newcastle box. Let's get a run at Trippier and be another corner to Spurs. Trippier got across, got the block in. It's Chris Kavanagh given this time. Again, he's gone against his original decision and he's awarded a goal kick. Kieran Trippier, little smile on his face there. I think he was expecting that to be a corner to Spurs, but Chris Kavanagh says no. Goal kick to Newcastle. Dubravka will drive this one downfield. Slovakian international Dubravka back in the fold due to that injury to Nick Pope, and Eddie Howe said in midweek he's not considering a January move for a new goalkeeper. Dubravka, plenty of experience, won't be overawed by the task of coming in and covering for Nick Pope, but Pope's such an important player in this Newcastle side and would have had his eyes on a squad place for England at Euro 2024. Hoping that his recovery from a shoulder problem won't be too much of an issue and that he'll be able to join up with Gareth Southgate's side. Newcastle just conceded a throw there. Fabian Schär put under pressure on the edge of the box and he skewed that one straight out of play, and he's down and in pain here, Fabian Schär. Then Kulusevski looks to put the squeeze on him on the edge of the Newcastle box, and it looks as if Kulusevski's landed on him as they're both toppled down in a heap, and that does look a painful one for the Newcastle number 5. Eddie Howe's already counting the cost of injury problems right the way across his squad at the moment. Schär is back up on his feet. Certainly one to keep an eye on for Howe and the Newcastle medical team in the next few moments. He's, for the moment, seems okay. Just looks like a knock. Occupational hazard, of course, if you're a rough, tough Premier League centre-back. It's Davies again, advancing down the Spurs left, but Guimarães tracks back, gets a foot in to prevent that from going any further. Good work there from the Brazilian international. Now, Lewis Miley looking to battle with Udogie. 17-year-old local lad is continuing to earn rave reviews in the Magpies midfield. He's, again, another player that's found himself drafted in because of a lack of options for Howe. He's been cool, calm and collected despite his lack of experience, drawing comparisons to another former Premier League midfielder from that neck of the woods, Michael Carrick. He's got a long way to go to carry that particular comparison, but he's looked good in what we've seen of him so far in a Newcastle shirt. There's Livramento, just nips in there ahead of Brennan Johnson. Finds Joel Linton, he's challenged there by Pape Sarr. Chris Kavanagh blows for a foul on Brazilian international. The edge of the centre circle inside the Tottenham half. Joel Linton frustrated with that. I think he wanted Kavanagh to play on. It was a foul. Pape Sarr just got back across and caught him. Newcastle with their first chance to threaten the Spurs goal from a set piece. Kieran Trippier on duty here. It's an unusual angle to try and create something from. Dead centre, just inside the Spurs half, and Fabian Schär's nipped over to the sideline for a quick chat with Eddie Howe. Howe keen to get an update on his condition. He seems okay as that's delivered low into Gordon, but he's beaten to it by Pedro Porro. Porro's ball forward, dummied by Johnson, fed on by Richarlison. Here's Son, looking to isolate Trippier on the edge of the Newcastle box. Son, Newcastle get back in numbers, and it's great work there by Miguel Almiron to frustrate Son, but Son will win it from him in the corner. He finds Richarlison, the Newcastle player screaming for a foul against Son there as he caught Almiron in the face with a stray hand. Almiron has stayed down. Son protesting his innocence to Chris Kavanagh. Super work on the cover from Almiron initially. Got back in to help out Kieran Trippier. Son got his body across, one possession back. There is an arm across Miguel Almiron. I don't think Chris Kavanagh is too concerned by this at the moment. Almiron is back up, back in action. Quick rub of the face and he seems to be okay. Son Heung-man is not a happy bunny after that one. He found himself an opportunity to run at Trippier there, and Newcastle racing back to make sure he didn't get a chance to test Dubravka. There will be another question mark over Fabian Schär, his second time in as many minutes that he's gone over to the Newcastle bench, but we'll come back to that in a moment as Tottenham look to break free. Johnson with the delivery, Trippier does well to clear. Pedro Porro will try again from the right hand side, thinks about the cross but opts for Romero instead. Now Bissouma. Fabian Schär does not look comfortable out there. I think we could be seeing a Newcastle change imminently as Johnson's cross loops up high over the bar, but it's a corner for Tottenham. Defended over the far side there by Tino Livramento. There's no activity on the Newcastle bench as yet to suggest a change for Fabian Schär. Just having a quick chat with Jamal Lascelles, so we'll keep an eye on that one. He does look uncomfortable. No suggestion just yet as to what Eddie Howe's plan is if he needs to come off. Corner delivered in and headed goalwards and cleared off the line. Miguel Almiron getting back there to frustrate Tottenham once again. Newcastle caught unawares by that corner. Miguel Almiron was alert to the situation. Mess in the middle of the box there, and it was Cristiano Romero that got up highest. Headed down, might have just been drifting wide of the post, potentially. Miguel Almiron taking no chances, clears that one away. Spurs come again through Son on the left. It's eventually nudged back to Bissouma, Papi Sarr. Bissouma again now looking to curl one around Joe Linton. As the Magpies look to soak up this bit of pressure, and that'll be cleared away down the left hand side, but Tottenham immediately back. Throw in, infield to Udogie, popping up in central midfield, looking to try and make something happen for the visitors. Bissouma to Romero on halfway. It's a long searching ball forward, looking for the run of Kulusevski. He's kept it in play down on the far side. The battle away there with Fabian Schär. Trippier will help out. It's back to Udogie, now Kulusevski again. Son thought about the shot on the edge of the area, instead opts for the safe option of Bissouma. He'll carry it over to the right hand side to Johnson. Bissouma again. Two banks of four in front of the Newcastle box for the Magpies. Strung out across there, looking to frustrate Tottenham, ensure there's no gaps for them to play through. Kulusevski twists away, but again he's shuffled backwards to Bissouma. Davies looking to drive one between the lines to find Son on the left. He'll whip that one in. Richarlison diving in front of Martin Dubravka, but just a couple of inches in front of the Brazilian. Couldn't get his studs on that one to divert it home. Dubravka will gratefully grab that one in and get Newcastle moving again. The referee's just called for a quick stoppage here. He's sorted a few bits and pieces out in midfield. Little tussle there between Joe Linton and Yves Bissouma. Despite the issues that they're having within the squad and Eddie Howe trying to balance his resources, it's not been a bad run of form overall for Newcastle in recent weeks. 2 Premier League wins in the last 3. That defeat at Everton obviously a negative for him, but it did look as if they just ran out of steam in the final stages. Everton at a Rakoris, Goodison Park are always going to be a tough test, and if you've got a squad missing a host of players through injury, it's never going to be easy. Well, that away form for Eddie Howe will be a concern. And Trippier will get us back underway here. Just a little loose possession from both teams there, as eventually Newcastle are awarded the throw. 20 minutes gone here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 0, Newcastle 0 on Flash Score UK. We've only really had one clear sight of goal. Anthony Gordon's superb cross across the Tottenham box, inches away from finding Alexander Isak, and it was Ben Davies to the rescue for Spurs to keep things level as it stands. And it'll be a free kick to Newcastle. That throw in from Trippier forcing a foul by Richarlison. Dubravka will take his time over this one and assess his options. And if ever there was to be a change in fortune on the road for Newcastle, the omens do look good here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They've only lost once in 4 Premier League visits since 2019, as Tottenham moved in permanently after that campaign at Wembley after saying goodbye to White Hart Lane, and Newcastle have enjoyed their trips to this part of the capital. Spurs looks to fly forward here again. It's Johnson with the ball across the box, and Richarlison just a yard or two behind once more. And you're lacking a bit of sharpness. Richarlison brought back into the starting team today, just 1 Premier League goal. As you mentioned, that's coming up to almost 3 months ago since he last found the back of the net for Ange Postecoglou. He's had a few sights of goals so far. Pace of Johnson causing problems for Newcastle over on that far side, up against Tino Livramento. Tottenham looking to battle away over the right hand side. It's Johnson against Livramento there. Livramento coming out on top this time, but it's given away by Newcastle. Bissouma will take control in the middle of the pitch for the home side. Ange Postecoglou watching on, arms folded, doesn't show too much emotion. Win, lose or draw. The Spurs look to burst forward here. Udogie's pass just cut out at the final moment there. I think it was Lewis Miley tracking back to help out. Kulusevski's eyes lit up as he thought that was arriving to him around the penalty spot, but good work from the teenager for Newcastle, making sure his defence got the cover they needed. Another injury concern here now for Newcastle. Joelinton, the latest player down, requiring assistance. He collided with Pape Sarr just a few moments ago, and Sarr, I think, as his momentum carried him on, did catch Joelinton accidentally. Joelinton's not happy with that one. He's making Chris Kavanagh know. He doesn't look to be too much of a concern. He's back up on his feet now and jogging around. Howe is taking note of these possible issues. Emil Krafth and Sean Longstaff both out warming up for the visitors. Obviously Howe will be looking to keep those options in reserve. That big game in midweek and a demanding fixture here will stretch his resources once more. Should also throw into the pot, as well as Champions League action, Newcastle also Carabao Cup trip to Chelsea before Christmas, December 19th. They'll be landing on Stamford Bridge, obviously beaten in last year's final. Manchester United, who overcame them at Wembley last year, knocked out by the Magpies in the previous round. Eddie Howe will be eyeing that as a potential trophy source this season, but the Premier League is the key focus at the moment, and getting players back to fitness is job number one on the list. And again, we're talking about injuries. Almiron down, Christian Romero with the most innocent look he can manage to put out there to referee Chris Kavanagh. He came in heavy on Almiron there. 12 months ago, obviously, Romero part of the Argentina squad that lifted the World Cup. Crucial player for club and country. Developed himself a real cult following here at Spurs the last 12 months. He's not frightened of a scrap, that's for sure. As Trippier looks to deliver that free kick in deep, it'll be kept alive on the far side by Lascelles, but he's not able to prevent a goal kick. There's the walking wounded here for Newcastle at the moment. Lascelles crashing into the advertising board in his attempts to keep that one going. Eddie Howe just jotting down a few notes. He might be jotting down the next player to be ruled out through injury if he's not careful. And here comes Spurs again. On the right hand side this time, Sarr looking to curl that one over the far side to Song Heung-min, but Trippier heads clear for Newcastle. Pedro Porro picks up the loose ball on halfway. Romero feeds that one into Kulusevski. Richarlison made that early run, but it wasn't spotted by Porro. Goes for Udogie instead. Now out to Song Heung-min on the left hand side, looking to get himself past Trippier. Trippier tracking Son, but it's in there, and it's a goal for Spurs. Kieran Trippier initially made the block. It bounced back to Song Heung-min. He's blasted across the box, and we have a first Premier League goal for a first Premier League goal for Destiny Udogie. The Italian left-back found himself inside the 6-yard box for the home team. Song Heung-min's ball bounced kindly for him, and he steered it home past Martin Dubravka, and it is a first ever goal in English football for Destiny Udogie. Tottenham probably deserving that one. Newcastle will be disappointed. Trippier in particular found himself in a difficult position, isolated here against Song Heung-min. Did initially block that cross, but as it bounced back to Son, fizzed it across the box. Udogie kept his run going and steered it home. 1-0 to Tottenham. 26 minutes on the clock at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Ange Postecoglou's side struggling for form. No win in the last 5 in the Premier League. Destiny Udogie puts them in charge. Should mention that stat that we touched on before kick-off, that Tottenham have given away a winning position in all of those 5 games. So all is not lost for Newcastle as it stands. But that is a strong start for Ange Postecoglou. And Newcastle needing a response. Newcastle immediately conceding possession from the restart. We'll just stick with this for a moment as Newcastle try to get back in numbers here, but Bissouma wins it off Joelinton and just to muscle his way on into the Newcastle box. He's trying to win a corner over the far side off Bruno Guimaraes, but eventually loses out. Anthony Gordon doubling up to help out and make sure that Newcastle can get themselves a bit of possession, but it's another foul. There's Brazil on Brazil there as Richarlison clattered into Guimaraes. As Gordon looks to tee that one off to Joelinton on the edge of the box, deflected behind for a corner to Newcastle. He's Bissouma putting his body in the way there, making sure Vicario wasn't tested. Just switched off there for a moment, the home side. And Gordon has shown that he is a threat in this game so far. And Newcastle will have a chance here now. Fabian Schär up from the back. Jamal Lascelles looks as if Schär will be okay to continue. That early injury not causing too much of a problem for him now. Relief for Eddie Howe as he moves towards the half-hour mark. Delivered in by Almiron, headed up by Richarlison, not away though. Chris Kavanagh blown for a foul there inside the box. There's 2 Newcastle players piling in on Vicario and the referee taking a dim view of it. It's good defensive work there from Richarlison as well. It's an important part of his game, it should be said. Whilst he's struggling to put the ball in the back of the net at one end, he does do his defensive duty, make sure helps out the Spurs backline, particularly from set pieces. He's very strong in the air, but he really would do with a goal. He'd be delighted to get himself back amongst it for Tottenham. Not guaranteed a regular starting spot when everyone is fit, it must be said, particularly with Brennan Johnson now staking a claim in Ange Postecoglou's plans. Son Heung-min, Dejan Kulusevski are pretty much set in stone, and James Maddison's 5 Premier League assists so far this season put him top of the shop for goal creations for the home side, but he's not due back for another couple of weeks. There's another half chance there for Spurs. Johnson again from the right hand side. It was Sarr who broke in, trying to get himself in front of Jamal Lascelles, but he couldn't get a clean contact, and it's well wide from the Tottenham midfielder. He has managed to get himself on target in the Premier League this season. Sarr, just 1 Premier League goal for him as it stands. Same can't be said for his midfield partner Yves Bissouma, still without a Premier League goal as a Tottenham player. Former Brighton man saw his season wrecked by injury in 22-23. He's come back into the fold, and he's such an important part of that Tottenham engine room. Spurs fans finally getting a chance to see what the club paid the big fee to Brighton to bring him to the club for. Trippier with the throw, just tries to ease that one into Guimaraes, but Richarlison will chase him down, and he's forced backwards to Fabian Schär. A long ball played forward by Schär, finds Gordon, who gets there before Pedro Porro. Gordon stepping inside, looking for options here with Lewis Miley. Now Guimaraes over to Trippier on the right, looking for options in front of him. Guimaraes is the one who makes the burst forward, but Richarlison, brilliant stuff to get back there, and he's away from Trippier. Can he find a pass to Son? Son over halfway, looking to get the run on Lascelles, but he just a touch too eager there to burst away from his fellow captain. And Lascelles looked in a spot of bother as he tried to get across and make the challenge on halfway. Newcastle was stretched as Trippier was caught upfield. Eddie Howe's just deep in conversation with a couple of his coaching staff here. I think Lascelles is the latest player that he's asking for a bit of news on, particularly if it is a minor injury. That date with Milan in midweek might just take priority for the half-time decisions that Eddie Howe will make. He's obviously keen to get their Premier League form back on track, but he's equally as eager to give his team the best opportunity to reach the Champions League last 16, back in the competition for the first time in 2 decades. It's been a mixed European journey for them. Started so well with that victory over PSG at St James's, but back-to-back defeats to Borussia Dortmund, and then controversial draw in Paris means that it's all to play for on the final day. But they do need all 3 points against the Serie A side, and that'll be a fascinating clash. Available here, live audio coverage on Flashscore UK in midweek, as will all Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League matches. Plenty of Premier League interest across the board, across all 3 days. Newcastle again looking to drift a searching ball into the box. Rice aiming for Gordon this time, but smart defending there from Romero. Is Porro looking to get Tottenham advanced into the Newcastle half. He gives it away, and that's picked up by Isak. Now he finds Gordon to break into the box for Almiron. Well held by Vicario. The poor ball that from Anthony Gordon. Miguel Almiron burst past him there. He wanted the ball played in front of him, but it was a fraction behind the Paraguayan. Didn't really have too much option other than to take it first time, as Udogie was racing back to make the clearance. It's an effort on target, but it's an easy one for Vicario to deal with. He's Kulusevski immediately looking to get Spurs back down the other end. Finds Son, feeds it into Richarlison inside the box. Trippier there just pokes behind. The referee signalling that it was an offside in the build-up there. There'll be no corner to Spurs. Newcastle get away with one there. Jamal Lascelles has signalled over to the Newcastle bench just to say that he is in some discomfort. You would imagine that he'll battle on until the break, where Eddie Howe will have a chance to assess all of his potential injuries, or his new injuries I should say. Lascelles and Cher, very, very important to him at the moment. But they do have Emil Krafth on the bench. Kieran Trippier potentially could be drafted into a central position. Paul Dummett and Lewis Hall are options. Alex Murphy, the young Irish left-back, could also step in and cover if needed, as Miley does well there under pressure from Bissouma and Sarr to find Joelinton. Now Trippier, high wide on the right-hand side, finds Almiron. It's an offside flag up against him. Just got his timing all wrong there, Almiron, as he tried to come back from behind the Spurs defence and link up with Trippier. Eddie Howe is out beckoning some instructions at his substitute, so you'd imagine plans are afoot for changes at the break. So far, just hasn't really worked for Newcastle here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 36 minutes on the clock. Tottenham 1, Newcastle 0. Destiny Udogie's first ever Premier League goal, giving Spurs the breakthrough that they've been pushing for, and both teams in really firm need of a positive result in this one. Newcastle aiming for some momentum before that Milan clash, but it's their Premier League form that is the main concern for them. Spurs obviously winless in their last 5. Ange Postecoglou looking to revive that brilliant start to the season that they had. Udogie just frustrated there as he had half a chance to maybe go for a second goal. He did the hard work to get away from Joelinton, but he was blocked off eventually by Lascelles. Son will pick up the loose ball and pop it into Bissouma to Sarr. He angles one out to the right hand side to Pedro Porro. Johnson will look to wriggle himself past Anthony Gordon. Ball back in, just cut out by Joelinton initially and then hacked away by Fabian Schär, but Spurs immediately back on it midway inside the Newcastle half on the right hand side. Porro to Sarr. Newcastle just unable to get themselves downfield and maintain any sort of realistic attacking possession in the last few moments. Tottenham smothering the visitors inside their own half as we move towards the interval, and a second goal for Spurs here, you'd imagine, will put a completely different complexion on the respective half-time team talks. Son looking to trick his way past Trippier, fed into Richarlison, and it's a goal for Spurs, 2-0 to the home side, and Richarlison has his Premier League goal almost 3 months without finding the back of the net for the Brazilian international, and he finally puts one in the back of the net. Tottenham's number 9 on target, and it is 2-0 to Tottenham. Kieran Trippier again bested by Son Heung-min on the left-hand side of the box. A couple of kind ricochets did give Son the chance to steer that one back across the box, and from an almost identical position as Destiny Udogie put Tottenham in front, Richarlison this time makes it 2-0 to Tottenham. Kieran Trippier will be disappointed with himself there. He got his angles completely wrong as he tried to defend Son. There's probably a couple of question marks against the Newcastle centre-backs as well. Could they have done more to close Richarlison down? He was given far too much space right on the edge of the 6-yard box. Martin Dubravka is asking that question right now to Jamal Lascelles and Fabian Schär. It doesn't change the outcome. 2-0 to Spurs. And Ange Postecoglou now, even despite their struggles of the last few weeks, must be thinking this is where it all changes. And as for Newcastle, chances of a second half revival not completely out of the question, but back-to-back Premier League defeats will be a concern for Eddie Howe. If, I should say, it stays as it is. Tottenham, as you mentioned, have given away a losing position in all 5 of those games that they failed to win. But a 2-goal advantage is a different situation for them. And here they come again. Kulusevski looking to storm through the middle, get past Lascelles, up for Son again. Son against Trippier, cuts inside on his right foot. He's forced backwards by Miley, fed across to Johnson. Now can he find a shot? Blocked by Joe Linton. Newcastle just anything will do as they try and get it away and ease that bit of pressure. Livramento as well to win a throw-in over on the far side. A penny for Eddie Howe's thoughts here as he's looking to plan for the second half, potentially losing a player or two to injury for the second period, and looking at his bench, there is the potential that he could shuffle things up. Callum Wilson back in the squad. He's been a bright spark when fit for Newcastle this season. He's joint top goal scorer for them, 7 Premier League goals alongside Alexander Isak. But Eddie Howe is not a fan of playing both players together. He likes a lone striker flanked by Gordon and Almiron. But given the situation, that's got to be something that could be considered. Matt Ritchie, veteran Scottish international, also a possibility for Newcastle if needed. Another deep cross into the box by Porro. Trippier does well this time, gets that one cleared. Again, Tottenham turn it over on the edge of the box, and Johnson will fire that one just beyond Martin Dubravka's post. He's been busy so far in the first half, Brennan Johnson, making life difficult for Tino Livramento, but that's his first opportunity to get into a central area and get a shot away. Just zip past Fabian Schär, and Martin Dubravka will be relieved to see that one bounce the other side of his post. I don't think he was getting there if it had gone in. Might have even taken a little nick off the upright for Brennan Johnson. We talked about Richarlison's lack of goals for Spurs. Brennan Johnson still waiting for his first Premier League goal here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Has scored 1 in the league for Spurs since joining from Nottingham Forest this summer, but he'd love a goal here in North London. Another half chance for the home side. Dejan Kulusevski couldn't quite get that one to sit right for him in the edge of the box. Share who gave away possession, and Johnson was busy again. And I will be very, very surprised if we see the same Newcastle team for the second half. Changes have to be made by Eddie Howe. There's a chance for a break here. That's one swept downfield to Isak. Romero comes sliding in, but Isak keeps control of it. The flag, delayed flag up against Alexander Isak. He's not happy with that one. Christian Romero might be counting himself as a lucky boy there, because he was nowhere near winning possession from Alexander Isak as he lunged in. Isak saw him coming, dipped inside, thought he had a chance to burst forward. Offside flag flashes up. 43 minutes gone here on Flash Score UK at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0. Destiny Udogie's first Premier League goal for Tottenham, and Richarlison's first Premier League goal since mid-September. 2 real bursts of positivity for Ange Postecoglou as he looks to secure a first Premier League win in 6 for Spurs. Just a few moments to go before the half-time break. We'll keep an eye on how much time will be added on. We imagine we will get a bit of an extension, 2 goals and a few injury concerns for Newcastle, as Son looks to race away over halfway here. He's got options in front of him. Kulusevski's to the right, Richarlison to the left, goes for Kulusevski. Oh, just eventually drops wide of that far post. I think he was going for the little dink to Richarlison. Richarlison threw everything at that. He was trying the diving header in front of Dubravka. I think if Dejan Kulusevski had just put his laces through that one, it would have given more of an issue for Martin Dubravka. Dubravka was certainly expecting a shot from Dejan Kulusevski. Great run from Son. Just waited, found Dejan Kulusevski inside the box. It was Lewis Miley in the end who got back, got a little nick on that, and probably prevented Richarlison from heading that into the back of the net. It'll be a corner to Spurs, taken on the far side by Porro. Headed goal was by Richarlison, but that's a catch for Dubravka. Trippier will look to go long for Newcastle, looking to aim for the run of Tino Livramento in the end, as it was. He's come racing across from left back to meet that ball, but it's seen out by Yves Bissouma. Udogie will get Spurs back underway here, throw in midway inside the Tottenham half on the left hand side. Udogie finding himself on the score sheet here in North London. Sure, Ange Postecoglou will be delighted with that one. One of his summer signings when he joined the club from Celtic. He's firmly established himself as number 1 at left back, and he's potentially going to be going to the European Championships with Italy next summer, if Italy can make their way through the playoffs in March. So missed clearance there by Romero. There's a swing and a miss from the Argentinian, and Anthony Gordon will break away down the left hand side for Newcastle. Can he get away from Sarr? No. It's a great recovery there from the Spurs number 29. Got back, kept his composure, didn't dive in on Gordon. He spins that one down the line to Johnson, who'll find Richarlison, but Cher steps across and cleans up. 3 minutes raised on the added time board. So we move towards the half-time interval here in North London. It's another waste from the Magpies there, drifted out wide to find Almiron, but it was far too much pace on it. Eddie Howe's assistant Jason Tyndall's already down the tunnel, preparing for what will be an important chat from the Newcastle coaching staff in the next 15 minutes. It was well won by Jolinton from the throw there. Looks to spread it across to Livramento. Now Gordon. Romero thought about the challenge but decided against it. Pop back into Rice. Now back with Gordon on that left hand side. Potential for one more chance for Newcastle before the break. Can they make something? Give Vicario something to think about before the half-time whistle. Switched across to Trippier. Looks to pop that one into Lewis Miley, but it's deflected behind by Bissouma. I think the final touch might have come off the Newcastle midfielder. Bissouma's protesting that, but I think the referee disagrees. It'll be a corner to the Magpies. Trippier will jog forward to take this one. 2 minutes of the additional 3 played here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 60 seconds for Newcastle to get something. Trippier's free kick, there's corner kick, should say, delayed here. Kavanagh just having a word inside the 18-yard box. Delivered in towards Lascelles, but he's unable to bring that down, and Son will clear downfield. Deflected off Lascelles. He was quick to stop the break there for Spurs and got his body in the way. He does seem to be limping as he trots back towards the halfway line. Situation for him and Fabian Schär to be assessed at the break by the Newcastle medical staff, and if I was to make a guess at this point, I think we won't be seeing Jamal Lascelles for the second period, but that is a decision for Eddie Howe at the break, along with quite a few other calls to be made by the former Bournemouth manager as he looks to get Newcastle back in this contest. Spurs happy to just kill off the final few seconds here as we move towards the break. Chris Kavanagh likely to add on a few more seconds. There's been a couple of delays during added time as Livramento just squares that run across the halfway line to Lascelles. Going back to Dubravka for the long drive forward aimed at Joe Linton, but he's let that one bounce through to Gordon. Gordon tried to get the better of Romero there, but as Romero comes out on top, and he'll stride forward for Spurs. Newcastle short of numbers here now as Kulusevski pops that one around the corner to Richarlison. Now Romero onto Kulusevski on the edge of the Newcastle box. Son on the left hand side, back in field to Romero. Romero stayed forward for the party. Kulusevski just feeds that one across the box to Richarlison, but it's poked behind by the Brazilian, and that is it for the first half here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0 at the break. Deserved lead for the home side. Ange Postecoglou looking to break that streak of 5 Premier League games without a win. But as for Eddie Howe and Newcastle, more injury misery incoming for the Magpies as it is half-time here on Flashscore UK. Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0. We'll be back with the second half in just over 15 minutes. Hello, welcome back to live Premier League coverage here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Flash Score UK, and it is 2-0 to the home side. Back underway for the second period. Newcastle looking to battle their way back into this contest. No changes at the break for either side. Spurs looking to end that poor run of Premier League form, and Newcastle looking to avoid back-to-back defeats in the Premier League. Firmly advantage to Ange Postecoglou as it stands. Eddie Howe satisfied that his team are capable of at least starting the second period as they were. Concerns over Jamal Lascelles and Fabian Schär, of course. Both players back out and back in action for Newcastle. And Newcastle on the front foot here in the first couple of minutes of the second half. Trippier looking to link up with Miguel Almiron. Bruno Guimaraes battling away on the right hand side. Gets a little pass back there from Trippier, but he's forced to link up with his centre half. Fabian Schär with the loft forward to Trippier. Tottenham eventually win possession back and look to build forward, but Schär will step in and snuff that one out. Newcastle really positive since got back underway here in North London, and Destiny Udogie forced to step in over on that far side, and Trippier corner to Newcastle. Kieran Trippier likely to be frustrated with the two goals that Newcastle conceded, both coming down his side. Both assists for Tottenham captain Son Heung-min. But he'll have a chance on the set piece here now. There's Trippier who delivers, headed away by Ben Davies at the near post. Just helped on its way there by Richarlison, but Tino Livramento will clip it back in for Alexander Isak. He's forced that wide on the left to link up with Anthony Gordon. Thought about the return ball to Gordon, but opts for a cross into the box instead. Hoofed away by Pedro Porro. Some real energy about Newcastle in the opening minutes of the second half. Eddie Howe knows that if they can get a goal, Tottenham are vulnerable to giving away leads. Here comes Kulusevski, looking to get Spurs moving for the first time since the start of the second half. On and on and on. He's gone past Almiron, right to the edge of the Newcastle box, headed down, but Guimaraes gets back and gets there before Richarlison. Joelinton just loses out in the 50-50 with Yves Bissouma. Now Udogie back on to Kulusevski. Romero just trying to take a bit of the sting out of the Newcastle pressure in the first 5 minutes of the second period. Just feeds that one onto Brennan Johnson. He'll get the better of Schär and try to lift one into the box, but he's headed away by Lascelles. Now Joelinton, calmly done there by Newcastle on the edge of their own 18-yard box, and Tottenham will look to press them, but Newcastle have dealt with that situation well. Lascelles looking for an option, finds Trippier right back. Now Guimaraes trying to get away from Dejan Kulusevski, does just that. Spots the run of Gordon. Gordon will advance Newcastle down the right hand side. This time he's switched across to try and see if he can have more success on the opposite flank. Going up against the Tottenham goal scorer Destiny Udogie, but it was Romero who conceded the foul on Gordon there, just barrelled into him from behind. Miguel Almiron seeing if he can get some joy up against Pedro Porro, but Newcastle with set piece here as they try and get themselves back into the contest. Kieran Trippier on duty, right hand side, level with the corner of the Tottenham 18-yard box. And I think there was a little chat there with Almiron. I thought Trippier was going to pass over set piece duties, but he's just passed on some instructions. A game of whispers here. Fabian Schär now takes the message, and Trippier will take the free kick. Whipped in from the right hand side, headed on and away by Yves Bissouma. Be a throw into Newcastle on the far side. Joe Linton to Gordon. Gordon will spray that one back over towards the right hand side, but it's held up by Tottenham and then given away. Declan Rice looking to cushion one into the box to Isak, but it falls to Joe Linton. Tangles with Porro, comes out on top. The ball back to Gordon is won by Richarlison, but the clumsy tackle from Richarlison there on Livramento. Referee Chris Kavanagh just waves play on, wants to get the game flowing again. Trippier gets down the right, curls that one in towards Gordon. Was helped over the bar by the former Everton man. Thought he got the better of his marker at the far post there. He delayed his run, waited and waited for Trippier to burst forward on the overlap. It's unable to get his knee over the ball and get it back across and test Vicario in the Tottenham goal. Tottenham do look a little bit shaken since we've got ourselves back underway here in North London. Newcastle enjoying the majority of possession, yet to create too much of a threat. Vicario yet to make a save. But Eddie Howe will be buoyed by what he's seen, certainly, as Joe Linton looks to pick his way through the Tottenham midfield. That's a Declan Rice. Almiron, Trippier on the charge across the box, and Davies back on duty there for Tottenham. Corner to Newcastle. Christian Romero took a knock in the middle of the box there as Newcastle piled forward. It was his centre-back partner Davies that dealt with the situation. Romero is never out of the wars, the Argentina international. He looks in pain here and he'll give himself just a moment or two to get back on his feet and back in action. So there's Trippier to take right hand side for Newcastle. 54 minutes on the clock. Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0. Trippier whipped into the front post, headed away by Davies, and helped on his way then again by Kulusevski. Anthony Gordon down after tussling with Kulusevski, but he's back on his feet as Newcastle want to get on with this. Declan Rice cuts him from the left. Thought about the sweeping ball, but he's stopped in his tracks. He does well to win it back, but then loses the second ball to Bissouma. Tottenham will look to drag themselves up towards the halfway line. Ange Postecoglou beckoning his defenders to come out and get themselves set up to protect against Newcastle breaking on them. We know that Australian coach is a fan of a high defensive line. The pace of Isak and Gordon and Almiron will pose a threat to that. And Vicario clears for Spurs, looking to try and get Johnson in away behind Livramento, but Fabian Schär gets across and helps out his young fullback colleague. Joe Linton will look to get Newcastle on the move again. Johnson slides in and wins that one for Tottenham. He thought the final touch came off Joe Linton. Referee Chris Kavanagh agrees. Joe Linton not happy with that one. And Eddie Howe just gives him a pat on the back, tells him to get back on the pitch. As Davies looks to clip a ball forward for Kulusevski, he loses out, but that'll be picked up by Destiny Udogie over on the Spurs left. And Bissouma just feeds that one back onto the halfway line to Christian Romero, who's back and moving freely for Spurs. Kulusevski onto Pedro Porro inside the box. Schär with an important foot across there, just making sure Richarlison didn't have an opportunity, but it's a low dipping effort at goal from East Bissouma. Marcin Dubravka gathers it in at the second attempt. It's skidded up in front of him, but there's no real danger for the Slovakian international. Eddie Howe just deep in conversation with Jason Tindall on the sidelines. You'd imagine he will still have in his mind some substitutions, potentially around the hour mark or just after. As Declan Rice looks to find Kieran Trippier on the overlap, but it's cut out again by Spurs. Trippier will come again. Now Almiron. Trippier makes the run outside him. Almiron steps inside onto his left foot. Finds Isak, dead centre of the Tottenham area. Just eventually smuggled away by Son Heung-min back there helping out. Christian Romero gets the foot in. But Newcastle keep coming. Joe Linton. Now Share advancing forward from centre-back, trying to barge his way through the Tottenham defence, but it's snuffed out by Richarlison. Now Johnson tries to feed that one down the Spurs right to Kulusevski, but Lascelles gets across, steams in. Seems to have shaken off that injury from the first half. As Kulusevski tries to get away from Livramento, but he's forced back out of the Newcastle box. Kulusevski just not on the same wavelength as Richarlison there as they tried a 1-2 to pick through Newcastle on the edge of the 18-yard line. Livramento deals with it and he's pushed over by Richarlison. Chris Kavanagh says play on. Newcastle in possession here. Crossfield ball over to Trippier on the right. Newcastle need to get numbers up through the centre to give him something to aim at. Exchanges passes here with Almiron. Joe Linton. Declan Rice. Joe Linton made the burst past him. He thought about the little chip in behind to his fellow Brazilian, but Tottenham slammed the door. Newcastle looking to come again. Miley to Declan Rice. Finally finds it through to Alexander Isak. That is headed wide of the Tottenham post, almost out for a throw-in for the home team from Isak. Little dinked cross into the box from Lewis Miley. Burst past Bruno Guimaraes, showing a willingness to get in advanced areas, the teenager. And it will be a corner now. The final touch skidded off Brennan Johnson. Isak will be relieved because he wasn't able to get his angles right from the header. And Trippier will curl that one in, punched away by Vicario to the edge of the box. Battle there between Son and Fabian Schär, and Son comes out on top, and Tottenham are on the break here. Son tangling with Jamal Lascelles. He's pulled to the floor by the Newcastle captain, and he's immediately over to referee Chris Kavanagh. Now, there was more than enough Newcastle bodies chasing back the other side of Jamal Lascelles for that to not be a red card. It's just going to be a booking for the Newcastle captain. He knew exactly what he was doing. Son was away. Johnson and Kulusevski in support. Son and Sarr won the battle on the edge of the Newcastle box, and Lascelles had a hold of Son's number 7. Justified decision there by Chris Kavanagh, not really any choice for him to make. Jamal Lascelles, experienced operator that he is, he knows Son had got away and found a pass there. It could be 3-0, and that, you'd imagine, would be game over for Eddie Howe's team. But as it stands, 2-0 as we hit the hour mark here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Destiny Udogie and Richarlison on target for Ange Postecoglou's side in the first half. And Richarlison looking to get away from Jamal Lascelles now, and it's a third for Spurs. Long ball into the box. Lascelles lost a flight of it. Richarlison stepped away, and it is 3-0 to Tottenham. Finally a smile across the face of Ange Postecoglou. Pedro Porro with the ball in. Lascelles caught in two minds, maybe distracted from that booking that he picked up just a moment ago, and Richarlison got a yard away from him and tucks it home. 2 goals for the Brazilian, his first brace of the season, and he pumps his chest, beats the Tottenham badge. That's a little bit of a show of showmanship there for him. Tottenham fans loving that one. Fantastic ball in by Pedro Porro. Spotted the space in between Lascelles and Kieran Trippier, and Lascelles really caught in two minds there. He wasn't sure whether to go and attack it or drop off and stay with Richarlison. Richarlison's first touch, not a great one as he took himself away from Dubravka, but he hooked it back round as the space closed in on him. Lascelles did his best to get back in, and Dubravka trying to close down the angle, but gets there first, Richarlison. And it is 3-0 to Tottenham. Eddie Howe surely now accepting that this one is gone, and with AC Milan on the agenda in midweek, I think we might see the visitors look to rest a few players in the final 25 minutes or so as he looks to manage what is a very, very thin squad. 12 players missing this afternoon through injury or suspension for the visit. He's been relying on the same group of players game after game in recent weeks, and tiredness and mistakes are becoming a feature for him. Trippier looks to poke that one down the right hand side to get Almiron away, but snuffed out by Vicario. Almiron and Gordon incidentally changing back to previous positions. Little 5-minute spell of swapping flanks. Almiron now back on the right and Gordon on the left as Tottenham come forward here with Kulusevski. It's to slip that one into Porro, and it's it! Oh! Almost did, I should say. I was already ready to shout for a goal there. Fantastic effort from Pedro Porro. Burst in from right back, tight angle on the right hand side of the 18-yard box. Came off the inside of Martin Dubravka's post. It looked for all the world as if that was going to fly into the back of the net from Pedro Porro, who assists just a moment ago for Richarlison, and that was so close for the former Sporting Lisbon man. Brilliant attempt. Still looking for his first Premier League goal of the season, and he was very close to getting that one there. It's a half chance on the return ball back into the box for Son Heung-min. Another player looking for a goal. Hasn't scored in his last 5 Premier League appearances. Half chance for him there. It was Dejan Kulusevski curling one into the far post. Never really got himself angled around the ball correctly to test Dubravka, and it flashes wide in the end. Ange Postecoglou was up, half celebrating just a moment ago. He thought that was 4-0, but Woodwork denying Tottenham what would be a game-clinching goal, you'd imagine. And those changes, as you mentioned, now incoming from Eddie Howe. Preservation of the players that he does have available on his mind, you'd imagine. Miguel Almiron and Lewis Miley, the players withdrawn. Callum Wilson, Sean Longstaff brought on. 2 players who have managed to get themselves off the Tyneside treatment table in recent weeks. I beg your pardon, so it was Isak, not Lewis Miley, that was withdrawn there for Newcastle. Almiron and Isak off, Longstaff and Wilson on. Yeah, a slight change in shape, you'd imagine, here from Newcastle on the back of those changes. Joe Linton moved into an attacking position. Miley, Rice and Longstaff in midfield. Joe Linton, Wilson and Gordon, the 3-man attack for Eddie Howe now. Here's Miley looking to create an opportunity for Newcastle to get something from this game. Immediately the door slammed in his face by Tottenham defence. Christian Romero rallying the troops in front of him there. That was an important block on Miley. Teenager will come again here for Newcastle. He might be on that list of players given a little rest in the final stages of this one. He's set to keep his place against AC Milan, you'd imagine. Sean Longstaff is an option to come in for Eddie Howe if he looks to freshen things up. Gordon gives that one away in midfield, and Tottenham will come again. Kulusevski bursting away from Gordon. He's got Johnson away to the right hand side if he can find him. Johnson just checks inside. He's immediately shut down by Tino Livramento, but he finds Porro backing him up. Porro will curl that one in, looking to try and catch out Dubravka, but it drops over the top of the crossbar. A constant threat down the right hand side today, Johnson and Porro. He thought potentially that might have caused an issue for Dubravka, but cross just drops over the top of the crossbar. Tottenham win that one back again, and it's Kulusevski from the edge of the box, and Dubravka gets across, 2 hands on it. Then Kulusevski has been a positive for Tottenham in recent weeks, despite their struggles in overall form. 2 goals in his last 4 Premier League games, 4 goals in total this season for the Sweden international. With Richarlison getting himself back on the goal-scoring trail, that will ease a little bit of the burden. Tottenham's number 21, James Maddison, as we mentioned, still sidelined through injuries, not expected to be too far away from a return, but as it stands, they are without the assist king at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Here's Son looking to get in on the act as he steps away from Trippier, but it's an easy gather for Dubravka at his near post. Newcastle, similarly to the situation away at Everton in midweek, where they also lost 3-0, just showing signs of fatigue here, and given the fact that Eddie Howe is constantly having to rely on the same group of players because of injuries and absences, it's understandable that so many games, such a busy schedule, and to have Champions League, Carabao Cup also to contend with, it's a difficult balancing act for Howe and his players. There's Lewis Miley looking to see if he can create something. Still looking for his first Premier League goal, 17-year-old. Read a recent interview with him, said he's living the dream playing for his boyhood club. Who can blame him? 17 years of age, starting in the Premier League. Here comes Newcastle again. Joelinton switched over to his left-hand side, feeds it in to Miley, who does well to protect it, keep it away from Christian Romero. Livramento looking to link up with Joelinton, but he's immediately runs into a wall of white shirts, and that's cross is dealt with by Udogie, but Son fails to find him with the 1-2. Spurs captain battling back there to make sure his mistake wasn't punished. Now Udogie, he loses out to Declan Rice in midfield. Now Gordon over on that right hand side. Can he find a cross? Gordon whipped it in. That's brave bit of defending by Pedro Porro, who's challenged by Joelinton. There's going to be a booking for Joelinton. Chris Kavanagh unhappy with the level of aggression shown by the Newcastle number 7. Pedro Porro knew that one was going to hurt. Knew Joelinton was behind him, and he was coming in full throttle. It's good fullback play from Porro there, just making sure he got his body in. Joelinton didn't have anything easy, and it was a poor challenge from Joelinton. Just watching back on the replay that we have available here. Frustrated arm in the back of Pedro Porro, and it's fortunate that he didn't cause more harm to the Tottenham right back, because that was a nasty one from Joelinton. Porro is back in action now as he pops that one in field to Bissouma. Bissouma's long ball forward cut out by Kieran Trippier. Son Heung-min, arms outstretched. He was asking for that pass, but it needed to be a better ball to get him in a situation to run at Trippier, which he has done so successfully so far in this game. The assist for Udogie and Richarlison's first goal both coming from Son winning his battle with Trippier. All that's missing for the South Korean today is a goal. 20 minutes on the clock, more than enough time for that potentially to come to pass. Here's Udogie looking to march over halfway for Tottenham. On to Son, level with the Newcastle 18-yard box, gets past Trippier, but he's held up by Longstaff, and Trippier gets back there to win the tussle with Son and win a throw-in for Newcastle. Declan Rice will take control of that situation for the Magpies. Feed it out wide to Tino Livramento. You just see the energy levels between the two sides. Spurs obviously losing in midweek to West Ham, but they do have a bit more zip and a bit more ability to go and close down the Newcastle players when in possession and track runners, back each other up in one-on-one situations. But Newcastle, the games do seem to be catching up on them. Eddie Howe in dire need of some positive news on the injury front as we move towards a very busy festive period of games. And Newcastle find themselves battling against 3 competitions before the end of 2023. Next weekend at home to Fulham, then that Carabao Cup trip to Chelsea, away at Luton on December the 23rd, home game against Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day, and then we kick off 2024 with a New Year's Day trip to Anfield. Here's Longstaff looking to get involved since coming on for Newcastle. He's slotted in there next to Miley and Rice for Eddie Howe, and it's an important return for Newcastle. Gives him an option to change and rotate in midfield and maybe give 1 or 2 players a bit of a break. It's Kulusevski working really hard there up against Livramento to win possession back in his own half, and Rice slides in on his fellow Brazilian Richarlison. Little high five of respect between the 2 Samba boys there. It's a good tackle from Rice to prevent Richarlison from advancing too much. Got a first change of the evening for Ange Postecoglou, and it is a direct swap from the 2 players that were dropped to the bench from the West Ham defeat, replacing the 2 players that started this game. Richarlison's 2 goals, the big story for the Brazilian today. He's given a break for the final 15 minutes or so. Pape Sarr makes way. Giovanni Lo Celso and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg on for Ange Postecoglou. Then we're going to have a couple more changes from Eddie Howe in a moment or 2, but I think they might have to wait. Chris Kavanagh keen to get the action back underway here. The board has gone up. It's Lewis Hall who'll be replacing Tino Livramento. Chris Kavanagh has given Eddie Howe a break there. He's letting his changes be made. Lewis Hall on for Tino Livramento and Matt Ritchie on for Anthony Gordon. Here is Rice, immediately closed down by Porro. Finds Son onto Brennan Johnson, who'll look to get the run on Lewis Hall. There's Hall's first touches. He does well to stop Johnson initially, but he needed help from Miley and Longstaff to prevent Johnson from getting away. Newcastle fans yet to really see the Chelsea loanee put a sustained amount of games together, or say sustained amount of Premier League starts together rather. Lots of promise, the Blues Academy prospect, and it's clearly an area of the team that Eddie Howe is looking to improve. Tino Livramento's done well in recent weeks, but it's tough and demanding position on the pitch in what Eddie Howe asks from his fullbacks. There is Trippier looking to get in an advanced position for Newcastle. Finds Wilson, but he loses out to Bissouma. Great work there from Bissouma to just dodge away from Sean Longstaff and keep possession for Tottenham. Celso getting his foot on the ball for the first time. Little tactical tweak from Ange Postecoglou with those changes. Obviously Richarlison playing centrally through the middle. Son has now moved in there. Kulusevski over to the left. Brennan Johnson keeping his spot on the right with Højbjerg and Lo Celso joining Bissouma. Here is Johnson, gets past Hall, cut back, held up the edge of the box by Lo Celso. He's forced back by really determined bit of play there from Longstaff, but it's fired in eventually by Pedro Porro. Dubravka grabs it at the second attempt. Little nutmeg there from Pedro Porro as Newcastle gave the ball away. Lewis Miley, the unfortunate recipient. Tossed forward, long ball by Trippier, held up by Wilson. Does well to win the tussle with Ben Davies. He finds Joelinton, and Joelinton will strike for goal, but it's deflected behind for a corner. Højbjerg getting his body in the way there. A set piece opportunity for the Magpies, and the travelling fans have stayed in numbers hopeful of seeing something miraculous maybe from their team in the closing stages. It looks to be a long and disappointing trip back up to Tyneside, and Eddie Howe will need them in numbers when they take on AC Milan on Wednesday evening. That corner's whipped in and headed wide eventually by Joe Linton. Incidentally, AC Milan warming up with defeat themselves this weekend as they prepare for the trip to Newcastle. 3-2 defeat at home to Atalanta. Newcastle know their destiny is in their own hands to an extent. They have to beat Stefano Pioli's side and hope that PSG lose or draw away at Borussia Dortmund. That is the picture in the group of death, Group E in the Champions League, as we move into the final round of Champions League group stage games. Newcastle against AC Milan and selected other Champions League fixtures will be available on Flashscore UK Tuesday and Wednesday evening. And there will also be Premier League interest in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League on Thursday. Liverpool, Brighton, West Ham, Aston Villa all in action as Porro just catches Joe Linton. Be a free kick against the Tottenham fullback. Just slipped as he tried to get back and make a challenge on the Tottenham number 7. Just to the left hand side of the Spurs box. Probably 30 yards from goal. Imagine Trippier will fancy his chances here. Fabian Schär is also an option. He can let one rip from this type of position, but Trippier's normally the tried and trusted. There's an option to shoot here for Trippier if he fancies his chances. Or he could just loft this one in and let Schär and Lascelles and one or two others try and attack it in the air, but I imagine that will be what he goes for. It's a short run up from Trippier, and I think he's just going to arc this one into the left hand side of the Spurs box. Trippier floats that one in, but it's just gathered in. Routine stuff for Vicario in the Tottenham goal. Fabian Schär made the move for it, but it was just too far advanced for him. Tottenham, you'd imagine, more than happy with their performance overall here today. Not just the goals, much needed for Richarlison, but for the performance on the back of slipping to defeat against West Ham in midweek. And there's been a bit of a dust up here in the middle of the Tottenham half. Christian Romero, a late challenge on Callum Wilson. Longstaff and Trippier straight over to Chris Kavanagh. Romero admitting fault. He's trying to reduce the impact here, just talk his way out of anything more serious, but it is going to be a booking for the Argentina international. He does catch Wilson. Wilson, who initially won the tackle with Ben Davies, he's trying to get back to his feet, and Romero just slides in and studs on Callum Wilson's ankle, and referee Chris Kavanagh, imagine, had immediately made his mind up to book Christian Romero in that situation, but it was a poor challenge, and that is the point being made to him by Kieran Trippier. I don't think there will be an additional VAR check for this one, but as it stands, it's just a free kick to Newcastle, just to the right of centre, similar distance to the one that Kieran Trippier took just a moment ago. Chris Kavanagh happy with his decision, and a little bit of afters as well between Bissouma and Guimaraes. And it's going to be Schär and Trippier over this one. Again, crossing position. Trippier tells Schär to go and get himself in the box, so it's going to be lofted in by the England fullback. He's capable from these positions. Newcastle's top assister this season. Pretty average delivery this time and cleared away by Spurs, but it'll come again. Knocked back in by Sean Longstaff, but Vicario gets his hands on it. Callum Wilson still unhappy about that challenge from Romero. The two of them just having a few words as Vicario gets Spurs back underway. Romero will do well to just keep out of that situation in the final few moments. Ange Postecoglou won't want his day ruined by a dismissal in the final few minutes. It's neatly worked by Spurs on halfway. There's a foul by Kieran Trippier, and that's going to be a booking for Trippier. Chris Kavanagh unhappy with his little nick on Dejan Kulusevski. Kulusevski initially won that one from Longstaff over on the far side, and Trippier can steam it in, catches him, he's down. Again, another pretty straightforward call for Chris Kavanagh, and his frustration here really starting to creep in for Newcastle, and that is a 5th Premier League booking of the season for Kieran Trippier, and another absence incoming for Eddie Howe. Here we'll miss next weekend's home game against Fulham as Tottenham get through here. Here's Son, can he get round Dubravka? Goes down, calls for a penalty. Referee says no. Has a little think about it, he's had a word in his ear, and I think this could be a mind change here from Chris Kavanagh, and it is a penalty. He initially held his hands up, says to the Spurs players, give me a moment. Son Heung-min bursting into the box, does get there before Martin Dubravka gets past him. The sliding Slovakian does catch Son as he goes round him. He's claiming that he didn't make contact with Tottenham number 7. It looks that Son's trailing leg does get nudged over by Dubravka's knee, and that will be a penalty to Tottenham. No need for a VAR check on this one. Chris Kavanagh just gave himself a second there, sensible refereeing. He decided that it was a foul and enough contact for Son Heung-min to go down. And an opportunity for Son to end his 5-game Premier League scoreless streak. He scored his last 5 Premier League penalties for Tottenham, and this would be the icing on the cake for Spurs if Son can get himself on the score sheet. Son against Dubravka. Here we go. Son with the step up, and it's a goal. 4-0 to Spurs. Superb penalty from Son Heung-min. Absolutely nerveless stuff, bulleted into the bottom right hand corner. Dubravka goes the right way, but no chance of keeping it out, and Son's goalless streak is over. 10 Premier League goals for the South Korean this season, and it is 4-0 to Tottenham here in North London. Ange Postecoglou's side back on track and heading for a first Premier League win in 6 games. Straight over there to the Tottenham fans. That camera goal celebration that they've been missing so much, wheeled out by the captain. Delighted to be back amongst the goals, and gonna have some more changes here from both managers for the final few moments. Just over 3 minutes of normal time remaining. Brian Hill and Oliver Skipp on for Tottenham. Brennan Johnson and Yves Bissouma withdrawn. Emil Krafth change for Eddie Howe, and Kieran Trippier is given a break. Plenty to think about for Eddie Howe going into that AC Milan game. Ange Postecoglou will be delighted to see his team finally secure a Premier League win. No midweek European action for them, of course, but they are in action on Friday night away at Nottingham Forest. Steve Cooper picking up a point away at Wolves yesterday, but he finds himself under pressure at the City Ground as we move towards what should be a thrilling string of festive games in the Premier League. Chris Kavanagh just having a quick word with Bruno Guimaraes in midfield there. Guimaraes unhappy with a couple of Tottenham tackles. Chris Kavanagh unmoved by the Brazilian's complaints. Spurs just looking to keep possession, tick the clock down. Newcastle, you'd imagine, given the exertion of this game and multiple clashes with a lack of options for Eddie Howe, would be happy to hear the final whistle. As Lo Celso just drops deep to pick that one up off Romero. Now Højbjerg onto Davies. Udogie back with Lo Celso. Lo Celso looking to quarterback it for Spurs, try and find a ball through. Does well there to pick out the run of Brian Hill on the right hand side. Here is Hill looking to come inside Lewis Hall. It's deflected away, but it finds its way to Udogie. Now Kulusevski on the left. Can he deliver one into the box? Drops for Skip. Can Skip make it? Oh! Can Skip make it 5? No, he cannot. Martin Dubravka with a really important stop. The Spurs substitute. Golden opportunity there, just 3 yards out. Dubravka sprawling in front of him, prevented it from hitting the back of the net. Good save from Dubravka. Just playing for pride here in the final seconds, but want to make sure that no more goals hit the back of his net this afternoon. Nice ball from Lo Celso, just fizzes that one into the forward line. It's Skip who finds Son. Son gets away from Lascelles, but it's dragged wide of the far post from Son Heung-min. Back in his groove after that goal from the penalty spot, but he couldn't keep that one on target. 2 good chances for Spurs in the space of less than 60 seconds. Skip kept out by Dubravka and Son firing wide. Callum Wilson just looking to chase down the Tottenham backline here and give them an issue. It's easily dealt with, and Hill will drop in, help out. Just neatly evades Joe Linton there, the Spanish international. Been utilised off the bench in recent weeks by Ange Postecoglou. He's seen his Tottenham career wrecked by injuries, but he is back fit and he is back in the team, and he's back in possession here, looking to lead Spurs on into the 18-yard box. Porro with the cross. It's just too far advance of Skip. Spurs substitutes looking to go for the throat here in terms of punishing Newcastle. They want a 5th goal. Hill, Skip, all heavily involved. Pedro Porro just couldn't get enough whip on that cross to cause an issue. We'll just wait for the added time to be confirmed here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but Son Heung-min will be withdrawn to an applause from the home fans. Christian Romero takes over the armband. It's 5 minutes added on. What you would imagine will be a procession for Tottenham and 5 minutes of frustration for Newcastle. Jamie Donnelly, the name Spurs fans might not be overly familiar with, who's brought on to replace Son Heung-min. Tottenham youth graduate. What will be his Tottenham Hotspur debut in the senior team. As Newcastle look to create a chance here, and they have got themselves a goal, and it is Joe Linton. From nothing, with a mistake over on the far side from Tottenham, quickly pounced on by the Magpies. Callum Wilson's worked hard since he's come on. He just slipped that one across the 18-yard box to Joelinton, and he buries it past Vicario. Sloppy from Spurs, obviously in such a strong position in terms of the results. Wilson thought about the shot, but he was blocked off by Romero. Joelinton, barely a flicker of a celebration from the Brazilian. He knows that it's nothing more than a consolation. Spurs players appealing for offside. Don't think they have much of a case. The neat finish from Joelinton, almost casual in the way he just buried that one in the bottom corner. Make it 4-1 to Tottenham. But just over 2 minutes of the additional 5 left to play here. That'll be something for Eddie Howe. He won't be returning to Tyneside with any points, but his team have kept fighting, kept battling. Defeat in North London won't actually change either team's league position. Spurs remain 5th, 30 points from 16 games, and Newcastle 26 from 16. Ange Postecoglou's team 3 points behind 4th place Manchester City, 7 behind league leaders Liverpool. Here's Hill looking to create something for Tottenham. He's pushed backwards to Porro, back with Hill now. Looking to get himself back to Joelinton, but important foot in there by Newcastle midfield, but get picked up again by Spurs. Here's Lo Celso, snuffed out by Rice. Rice will go long to Wilson. I think there might have been an offside flag in the middle of that, and there is a delayed decision from the assistant referee. I think Callum Wilson knew the decision was coming against him there. He didn't make too much of an effort. As Hill looks to step on for Spurs. Ball into the box, cut out by Longstaff and cleared away by Dubravka. Be very interesting to see how Tottenham can build on this result in the weeks to come. Away at Forest on Friday, at home to Everton, on defend the Magpies as it is half-time here on Flashton, and then a New Year's Eve home clash against Bournemouth. And Postecoglou, you'd imagine, will be hoping for quite a few points before the end of 2023, and if the injury list can begin to reduce, we could see a return of the start of the season Spurs. Here comes Wilson looking to get a shot away in the final seconds, but he's crowded out by Udogie and Christian Romero. Højbjerg steps in to help out his defenders and finds a pass to Davies. Lo Celso will finish the job for Tottenham. Tried to find Hill with a crossfield pass there, but it was cut out by Lewis Hall. Newcastle showing a bit of grit in this final few minutes. Ultimately, to no avail for Eddie Howe. Sean Longstaff just does well to win that tussle with Kill and feed it on to Rice. And Richie pops that one on the overlap to Longstaff, headed down by Callum Wilson, but straight at Vicario in the Tottenham goal. The best opportunity Callum Wilson's had since he's come on. Nice ball into the box from Longstaff. Got away from Romero, directed it down into the ground, straight into the gloves of the Tottenham Hotspur keeper. As Chris Kavanagh checks his watch, and that is all for today at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 4, Newcastle United 1. Back-to-back defeats for the Magpies, but a big story for the home side. A first Premier League win in 6. Ange Postecoglou's injury-hit side securing a crucial 3 points in the capital. There's a bit of aggro here at the full-time whistle. Vicario unhappy with Callum Wilson, but he will be happy with a home victory. Ange Postecoglou stepping onto the pitch, just telling his players to get off, get down the tunnel. And it is 3 points for the home side. 2 goals for Richarlison and 1 each for Destiny Udogie and Son Heung-min, back on track in front of goal for Spurs. Full time here on Flash Score UK. It is Tottenham 4, Newcastle United 1.